Welcome back to another episode of Path 7. What I want to have the most importance of right now is just, how can I say, blah, 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 blah. How can I say, finding your way back to your home. If not your home, allowing your tribe to, when they see that you're going through such adversity, being there to help you return back to space and not do anything too out of the norm of what you usually do. So, as in saying that, let me say thank you. We survived a couple good days after 9/11. I still want to be in remembrance of those souls who passed because, like I said, during great passing, great doors of expansion open up, and as they're opening up, you have to honor that space of those beings. So, as in saying that, regardless of color, regardless of whatever, a lot of souls were lost in an event that no one could have foreseen. So, as to say that, let's still stay in remembrance, and also let's be very thankful that there's a full moon coming up, and as to saying that we are in a great space of, how do you say it, of coming to a full acknowledgement of everything that we've learned during our time during this Virgo season, of how to consistently be in a space of change in the earthly plane, and also being able to be in a space of, because Mercury, well, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so a planet of communication. So earthly communication. So it's helping you tap into like a whole uh, different realm of thought and perspective. And inside of that, I want to say just thank you to my soul tribe or my soul family or those who do support me upon this journey, because it's not easy to be someone who goes through so much adversity and still find a way back to source. And in times where race allows you to limit your perspective, just be in a good space of remembering that just because it looks different, just because it seems a certain way, it's never the way that it seems. So, as in saying that, I have to remember that how can I say? I have to remember that things are never what they're seen, because we are still in times of so much darkness. So, as it being me, a being of so much, how can you say it, so much light, I have to always remember that I'm the person who see things from an object standpoint. That I have to always remember that there's going to be so much distractions of things going on around me that I have to be able to find and tone myself in all situations, because there's never going to be a source, a instance in which life isn't going to be objectively hard to perceive for me. So, as in saying that, I have to always be in a space of remembering that life is always going to never look the way that it should for me. So, as in saying that, I have to always be in a space of remembering that things aren't what they seem. And anytime they seem a certain way, I have to remember that sometimes I have to get out of myself and understand that there are people that look up to me, and it's hard for me to remember that because I was always the small runt of the pack that was always trying to be seen or be bought, however you want to say it. And as in saying that, now that me being somebody who can really stand by himself and stand on himself and try to keep, I have a great relationship with the planet or with the earth. And as in saying that, uh, just I'm very thankful that things happen the way they do for me to come to always come back to source. And no matter what happens, source always allows me to be in a space of remembrance that things are always working for my highest favor. And as they're working for my highest favor, I can always return back to source in such ways that allow me to remember who I am and where I'm trying to go upon my process. So, as in saying that, be patient, because things on this earthly plane will never be the way that we perceive them to be, because we are being distorted by so many different beings that are not in our greatest interest. And as in saying that, we're just getting to an aspect of understanding that there are things outside of ourselves that control us and things that manipulate us. So it takes more understanding of knowing that things are going to keep evolving, And my childhood is always speaking to me in certain terms that I had to remember that nothing works the way that I want it to. It's all about how you perceive reality. Reality is perceived by the man who has the beholder of the eye. The eye is never for one person. No one has just. There's not just a third eye for one person. The third eye is a community thing. It's something that the world has to be able to know that it's co-creating with each other. As it's saying that exactly, just like when you see the Greek pantheon, the sisters who all share that one eye. That's everybody in the world. No one has the right perspective. We're all one being. Well, we're all one being. Well, we're a multitude of consciousness we're one consciousness trying to find its way back home. What is home? Only a few people know the way to get back to home, because home is a place that always it's ever changing, as in the planets and all things are always changing. Time, planets. Well, excuse me. I don't know why I'm so interested in planets right now, but or astrology. Somebody's probably trying to make me seem like a Scientologist, but as in saying that, everybody wants to always group me back to a cult kind of thing, which I'm not even a cult kind of thing. I'm just a collective energy that wants to see people do well. So that's why it's so hard for me to find a space of trying to find that space of, how do you say it, just trying to give so much to people and just not mislead people down places that I've already evolved from, because it's easy to reach places of plateaus, and once you reach those plateaus, who is going to be your guru or help you surpass that plateau? Who's going to help you get past these places that we've once evolved from? And as in saying that, for me, it's one of those things in which who can really evolve past the things that we have once seen, because at this point it's more of like, okay, you have great understanding, but for that great understanding, how well can you relate that understanding to people who are still trying to find their way across this dark path that we're on? How well can you bridge this consciousness all the way for everybody to be able to benefit from? How well can you do the work for others to succeed? And as I just said earlier, a long time ago, for other people, it's one of those things where, however you see it, it's to be a king is not what we once thought it was. Being a king is someone who literally is like, he gives himself in full totality to his community, to his collective. As in saying that you are the food that these people eat, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Meaning, I had an incident earlier in which it was a lot of kids that were not kids, but they were younger children. They were younger than me, and I'm looking at it as, wow, this is one of those situations in which it's not that it's supposed to be a fight, but in the anime, it's still a fight, because life is a two-dimensional. It has different dimensions, and with these kids, how can you say it? They weren't testing me, but they saw me as, like, like that anime character, the big boss, the guy who pulls up, and I get it. And that's why I was just like, I see how I'm supposed to play this. In which they were still trying to help me ground, because I was still like very ungrounded. So they were doing things not to scare me. But the younger me, the me who was unaware, unknowing of what was going on around me, he would have saw it in a certain aspect of like, oh, I had to fight these people. Instead, it was like, okay, this is also different aspects of me, because consciousness is constantly growing and expanding. These same kids are trying to help me find myself. So as it's saying that, they are also different aspects of myself who are trying to get me to return back the planet, return back to source. Because I came out the house in a very volatile state. I was very upset because how much is being placed upon me, and I'm not getting any help from that. And then understanding that people are trying to feed me sexual energy that does not relate back to creative energy. There's creative energy, there's sexual energy, and there's sensual energy. Sensual energy is what we say cats are. Cats are sensual beings. They're very touchy feely. They want all of that. Sexual energy is something like, it's literally creating life. It's more of a man woman sexual thing. And then creative energy is just the God source energy. And then as it's saying God source energy, it is exactly what it sounds like. It's source energy. So it's just you and that inner child creating art, creating life, you know? So as it's saying that, that's all it is. But there are situations in which every second, like the epitome of life is death. And when people get to this point where they can accept that death is the only thing that's constant in his life, they say change, but change is death. Death is not something to fear. Death is something to embrace. And because I say it in such a way, it's like people feel like a certain way about it, where it's just like, nah, it's not the way that you want to see it. It's more of life. Life is death, and life is death, and death is life. As in saying that when you go through the the seasons of change, there's fall, winter, spring, summer. All of that is just four different stages of what? Life, death, and transformation. So as in saying that, we have to also remember that there is no growth without the the space of understanding that life is always going to be what it is. And for somebody like me, bro, I go through so much and I get no rewards for it. And for my rewards, I don't get the rewards because there's so many people taking things from me because people feel like I can't return back to places that I've already evolved from. It's like, bro, I'm not supposed to go back to places that I've already evolved from. And that's what people don't get. And it's just like, everything that you think that you're so high tier on me, fine, I've already done it. You know what I mean? I've already done it. So where certain things happen in the physical plane, it's like it had to happen the way it had to happen for people to understand what they understand. What we know is what we know. And people try to take it from a certain aspect of like they think they know more than me. I'm like, you don't know more than me. You're just playing in glamour magic and doing certain things that you think that you're not going to be caught for. And then when people get caught, they want to cry and da da da. It's like, bro, you did it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I'm like, I'm not putting anything on anybody that they don't already know. I'm just like, bro, I find space between things that need to be done. When people are like trying to act like, oh, like I have more intuition. No, you know how to manipulate people. I don't manipulate people. I'm just a guiding source for people that people need. So when people keep trying to play this weird ass game with me or try to act like I'm some kind of trash can for them to jump their traumas into, it's not saying I'm just gonna fuck you up. It's just like when it comes back to you and your time is to actually pay me back when I know what I'm owed, don't think I'm gonna give back to you. It's not to say I'm gonna avoid you, but I'm gonna remember the things you've done and the things that you continuously do. Meaning when people say like, yo, you should dog this guy out, you step on, I'm like, why would I dog you out? It's better for me just to keep doing what I'm doing, which is not even acknowledged. That's when certain situations happen and people try to make themselves bigger than what they are. And it's like, it's one of those things where no matter how much you grow, life is always going to pull you back to things that don't need attention. And if you can avoid that, if you can abstain from those things that want to be fed for long enough, you can grow. And that's why, in all senses, you need to stay mobile to the point where you can keep growing because it's not about other people, it's about yourself. And the more you can understand that, like, things are always going to keep coming up, you can find your way back to a space of making sense of the things that are yours. And when you stop paying attention to the things that aren't longing for where you're trying to go, you can find yourself and you can do things that are more beneficial for you and stop serving people that don't serve you, that don't reciprocate the energy that you're putting out. So as in saying that, I'm a fighter. As in saying that, it's not to say I lose fights, but the fights I fight aren't physical fights. They may be used through physical vehicles, but they're not physical fights. And that's what people don't understand. I'm a fighter. I fight. I fight my battles, other people's battles. So the days that you actually see me fall on a battlefield, like they say, I'd rather be somebody who falls on a battlefield rather than just hiding, letting other people build something for me that's not really needed to be grown, or grown in the wrong direction. So people don't understand what it means to do the inner work because they've never done it. And once you start to do the inner work, you're like, oh, you bullshit me.
Duh. These are people who are waiting for your fall so they can like pop up and do the same shit they always do. And which I'm just like, bruh, like the things that you're paying attention to are the things that you know what I mean? Like people are trying to still do the 3D thing, and I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck about any kind of culture. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. My life, my job at this point is to detach from everything and anything, so I can still find my way back to source. Nothing else matters but source. Everything else is distortions from source. I don't care about how many people are trying to puppeteer me because I see you. I see you, you know what I mean? All these different groups that want to like, disturb me. I'm like, bro, I see you, but is it my job to pay attention to you? That's what it is. And I'm like, you're still trying to scare me. And that's why I said like every other culture embraces me. They love what I'm trying to do. It's the culture that I look like as a phenotype that is still trying to hold me back. But there are people who are inside that phenotype that see what I'm saying, and they're like, "Oh, I feel you. I know what you're saying," and and that's all it is. It's one of those things. It is what is, and what isn't. It's not. So never try to make something more of what isn't. You know. So that's it. I knew out. Stay cool. In other words, they're trying to initiate me back into some kind of paranormal thing in which I'm not doing. So I'm just going to end it here. So thank you. I knew out. Stay cool, man.